Hey guys, and as the title says, this is going to be the first of a two-part series of videos in which I kind of answer a question, I guess, that I put to myself in response to one of the most common criticisms that is put Chikara's way, and being that I am a big fan of the Chikara product, I kind of feel like I should defend it when I think it does deserve to be defended. One of the most common criticisms that you'll hear about Chikara is that they don't deliver in the ring as much as they should. Their matches are often just very good, and they never have actually a great match on any one show, and that actually brings down the quality of the shows to an extent. The most common defense to this argument would be that Chikara is a very storyline-oriented product, and they bring it in the ring in different ways, in that they add dramatics to the matches. You're kept guessing as to who's going to win. The star power is there in such a big way that it doesn't matter that the wrestling is not necessarily as good as what you'll see in Ring of Honor, and they do a great job in hiding over that fact and delivering their product in a way that is still fun, that is still very much enjoyable, and that still works for them. That is the most common defense, and I still believe that to a large extent, but I'm going to present a different side of the argument now, an argument that was put to me in response to a comment that I made supporting that opinion on another person's video about a few weeks ago, Emerald Flosion 62 on here, and he responded to me in which he told me that Chikara's wrestling is not inferior. People just think it is because they compare it to Ring of Honor's style, which is very puro, very Japanese-esque, and very much a pure wrestling product, whereas Chikara's wrestling is very lucha libre, and it's two different styles, and people prefer the puro style, so they kind of get this idea, I guess, that Chikara's wrestling is inferior. I was intrigued by this because I had never thought of it from that side of things before, and so I decided to put that theory to the test. And the only way to do that is if you compare Chikara's lucha with other lucha that is on offer. So that is what I've done. In this video, I have reviewed two Chikara shows, and in the next video, I will go more in depth on the comparison between these shows and Chikara shows, an attempt to just really determine how good Chikara is this year in comparison to other lucha companies this year, because Chikara is often described as an American lucha promotion anyway, so this is kind of probably the best way to just determine Chikara's quality in terms of in-ring work, because I don't think, like, the BDK angle is a separate debate, and that's not one I'm going to get into here, but this is what I'm going to do in this video, and in the next video I just explained that. So let's get into this. I reviewed two lucha shows from this year, one from each of the two big companies in Mexico, which is CMLL and AAA. These are considered to be major shows, I would say, not to the extent that in the case of the CMLL show, it's not the biggest show of the year. That is their anniversary show, but that is a September show, which is a little more far back than I would have liked. But this is CMLL homage to two legends, in which they kind of pay tribute. This is a tribute show to the founder of the company, as well as the father of this family of Los Villanos, which is kind of like a family of four lucha wrestlers that are, I guess, famous in Mexico. I'm not really very high up on that. Well read on that, I suppose. But this was one of their major shows. It happened in March. I found it on a YouTube channel, Lucha Libre de Mexico. Not their most recent major show. They actually ran a show against TripleMania in a competing event, which is not found its way to this channel yet. Maybe if I know that I found one of the matches on YouTube, but not the whole show, so I will wait. There kind of seems to be a 2-month gap between when shows get on this YouTube channel, so I will wait. But this is what we got for this show, and it was a pretty good show, great show actually, and but it's not really something that I can go into depth on the matches about, because the first 4 matches were 6-man tag, 2 out of 3 falls, very lucha-esque, and they were kind of the same, to be completely honest. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the wrestling was very good. There was no bad match on this show. They were all very good, and the main event was different and turned out to be great. That's very much because of the fact that this show only featured the main storyline in CMLL, and not any other storylines, and I imagine they have more because they are a pretty big company. I'm not necessarily sure why that was done, because it seems like that's kind of hollow for your biggest show of the year, and this is definitely a format that if this was the regular format for shows, it would get very dull very quickly. but for a first-time viewer of the product, I was very impressed by what I saw, and I very much enjoyed this show. All the first four matches were well wrestled, six-man tag, and if I wanted to pinpoint a difference, I would probably point to the second half, I guess, the latter two of the first four undercard matches, wherein you had a lot more comedy, I would say. There was some comedy in the first two, but in the last two, you had one big heavy guy who was performing comedy spots, and in one of them you had one mini, who the only mini I saw on this show, who was kind of performing some comedy. So that was kind of a difference between the first few matches. But a lot of the undercard is just, it reminded me a lot of the response to the first Evolve show, where all the undercard matches were said to be the same and didn't get time. The only difference here is these matches did get time, and they were very fun to watch, and I very much enjoyed them. Very easy to sit through, and this was only a 2-hour show, so not very hard to sit through to begin with. So I was very happy with what I saw, and not at all like if this were a regular thing, like I said, it might get dull, but for right now, I was very happy with it. And then we got to the main event. The main event was great. The main event was different. It was what you call a Relevo Suicida match, in which it's a tag team match, and the first two guys to score a pinfall or score a submission are safe, and then the other two have to wrestle a singles match in which the loser has to have his head shaved in Lucha style. But it was a very well wrestled match. I was lucky enough to have read up on this storyline, because this was a storyline match beforehand, and I actually found out that Místico was turned heel, which I was surprised at, because Místico was supposed to be the biggest draw in all of Mexico. It was kind of strange to hear that he was heel now, but there was good psychology in this match, which is very much appreciated in an environment where I can't understand the language, and I can't be expected to be able to follow the storylines. If they're able to present this match in a way that I can appreciate the psychology in it, then that's very, very good. And I almost give it 4 1/4, but by the end of the singles match that resulted between El Felino and La Sombra, the finish came out of nowhere. It didn't seem to serve any apparent purpose, but I can't judge on how purposeful this show was, because I can't understand the storylines going in. So there was that, but overall this was a great show, I thought. Very easy to sit through, very enjoyable, and I would give it an 8 out of 10. And then we got on to the TripleMania, which was earlier this month, and which actually is the biggest show for AAA. And it was very different, I will say. To start off this video, it was a very different show than what I saw from CMLL. And for those who don't know, CMLL is probably the most conservative wrestling promotion in the world, even more than WWE, because they don't have any blood for a start, and that's probably been around long before WWE started banning blood. And they don't have any gimmick matches apart from their one annual cage match. And I would not expect there to be any run-ins or anything like that. I did see one DQ decision in one of the 2 out of 3 falls matches, but that was it, and that was because of a mask removal. But there is that. And this AAA show was a lot different from that. There were a lot of gimmicks. There were a lot of not a lot of gimmick matches, but there were some gimmick matches, and there was a lot of storyline going on that I couldn't understand, because I don't follow AAA, and I don't know any Spanish, so I don't think all of it worked necessarily. I do think there was some crap on this show. It wasn't so crap that it was unbearable to watch, but there was some stuff that just maybe go eh. And the show was good, not great. There was some very good stuff on here. There was the main event, again, really delivered, and once again I was able to engross myself in the storyline that was going on, but that I'm vaguely familiar with. They're fighting for the right to use the name La Parca, and both of these guys it was LA Park versus La Parca, and they were fighting for the name La Parca, and they definitely brought the psychology and the hate into this match. And then of course the booking of with the run-ins, obviously I couldn't really follow it all that well, but I did appreciate that it was a big deal to win this match, and nothing else really mattered, so that was good to see. And as far as the undercard goes, there was some good stuff on the undercard. There was some well wrestled matches. The opener I thought was very fun, with 8 minis in a TLC match. That was very fun. But there seemed to be some stuff on this show, like some weapon spots that didn't need to be there, and some just kind of crap on this show. And after watching both shows, I would say I wanted to see more CMLL, but I didn't necessarily want to see more AAA. And that's kind of unfortunate, because this was supposed to be they promote this as their biggest show, and it was just kind of a good show, and it failed in the premise that I wanted to see more. Like, maybe that's because I can't really follow the storylines really well. I can't make sense of them, I guess, because there was some delay. I'm not going to say delays, but there was some promos going on in this show. Maybe just one, if I remember right, that were going on that I couldn't really understand. But I wasn't really encouraged to watch any more AAA, whereas I want to watch more CMLL, and when their most recent show does find its way onto YouTube in full, I will watch it. But as far as AAA goes, not really feeling it. So that is the review of these two shows, and just kind of going over how I felt about both products on their first watching. Hopefully this is a adequate comparison to go ahead in the next video and kind of compare these Lucha products to Chikara's Lucha product, and really find out just how good Chikara is in terms of wrestling. I'm out. Later.